We live in a world that tells us to hustle harder, push faster, force results. But what if I told you the secret isn't the frantic action, but in the profound peace of letting go? What if everything you've been struggling for is actually pushing away the very things you desire most? Think about this for a moment. You wake up every morning with a burning desire to achieve something meaningful. Maybe it's success in your career, a loving relationship, financial abundance, or simply inner peace. You've read the books, listened to the podcasts, created the vision boards. You know exactly what you want. So, why does it feel like the harder you chase it, the further it slips away? Why does desperation seem to repel the very things you're desperate for? Here's what most people never understand. The more tightly you grip something, the more it struggles to escape. The more desperately you want something, the more the universe seems to withhold it from you. This isn't mystical nonsense or wishful thinking. This is ancient wisdom proven over thousands of years by some of history's greatest minds. The Stoics knew the secret century ago. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, sat in his palace and wrote to himself, "Your peace doesn't come from having everything you want, but from wanting only what serves your highest good and then trusting the process." Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest philosophers who ever lived, taught that suffering doesn't come from what happens to us, but from our desperate attempt to control what cannot be controlled. Seneca, who lived in the heart of Roman luxury, said something that should shake you to your core. The person who is not afraid of death has already conquered fear itself. Why? Because they've stopped trying to control the uncontrollable. They've stopped resisting life and started flowing with it. But here's where most people get confused. They think letting go means giving up. They think detachment means not caring. They think accepting life means settling for less. Nothing could be further from the truth. What the Stoics knew, and what you're about to discover, is that the moment you stop forcing and start trusting, everything begins to flow. Before we dive deep into this transformation, I need you to do something. Hit that like button right now. It takes less than a second, and it helps us reach more people who are ready to change their lives. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. You're about to discover principles that will fundamentally shift how you approach life, success, and relationships. And please, don't skip any part of this video. The last principle might just be the one that changes everything for you. Now let's explore the 7 principles that will set you free. The first principle is detach from outcomes and focus on effort. This is where everything begins. Most people have their success backwards. They focus obsessively on the result they want and neglect the actions that create those results. They imagine their dream job, their perfect relationship, their abundant bank account, and they become so attached to this vision that every setback feels like a personal failure. Imagine 2 people applying for the same position. Both are qualified. Both want the job desperately. But one person walks into that interview consumed by the outcome. They're thinking, I need this job. I have to have this job. If I don't get this job, my life will fall apart. Their energy is desperate, anxious, needy. The other person walks in having prepared thoroughly, having done everything in their power, and now they release the outcome. They're thinking, I've done my best. The decision is out of my hands now. I trust that whatever happens is what's meant to happen. Which person do you think gets hired? The first person's desperation shows. It makes them appear insecure and needy. The second person's calm confidence is magnetic. They appear grounded, capable, assured. The outcome wasn't the difference. The mindset was, this is what the Stoics understood. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your effort, your intention, your preparation, and your attitude. You have zero power over whether others choose you, whether circumstances align, whether the universe delivers what you want in your time frame. So why waste your mental energy obsessing over the one thing you can't control? Here's the practical application. From this moment forward, let go of being attached to specific outcomes. Instead, focus entirely on the quality of your effort. Are you showing up authentically? Are you preparing thoroughly? Are you taking action from a place of purpose rather than panic? Are you treating others with respect and integrity? If you can answer yes to these questions, then the outcome is no longer your responsibility. It's the universe's responsibility. Type this in the comments to anchor in your heart. I control my effort, not my outcomes. I do my best and release the rest. Say it, feel it, believe it. The second principle is master your mindset by training your thoughts. Your mind is a garden. Every thought is a seed. You can choose to plant seeds of fear, doubt, and scarcity, or you can plant seeds of confidence, abundance, and possibility. The Stoics were masters of this practice. Epictetus taught that people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. Think about that deeply. Not disturbed by things, by the views they take of them. This means that an identical situation can either devastate one person or strengthen another person, depending entirely on how they interpret it. Consider a musician who gets rejected from a record label. One musician might think, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed, I'm a failure. That thought spirals into more negative thoughts, which creates negative emotion, which leads to giving up. The second musician receives the exact same rejection and thinks, I got valuable feedback. I need to improve this specific element. I'm one step closer to finding the right label that appreciates my work. That thought spirals into refinement, effort, and eventually success. Same rejection. Different thoughts. Different destinies. Seneca wrote extensively about this practice of controlling your thoughts before they control you. He called it premeditation, but what he meant was this. Anticipate the challenges you might face and decide in advance how you'll interpret them. When rejection comes, you already know it means feedback, not failure. When obstacles appear, you already know they're opportunities for growth, not signs you should quit. Here's what you need to do starting today. Become aware of your default thinking patterns. Notice when you're catastrophizing, when you're assuming the worst, when you're telling yourself limiting stories. Then pause. Ask yourself, is this thought actually true, or am I just interpreting it this way? Could I interpret the situation differently? What would a confident, abundant version of myself think right now? Drop this in the comments if you're ready to master your mind. I choose empowering thoughts. My mind is my power. I interpret every experience as a learning opportunity. Now we arrive at the third principle. Trust divine timing and release your impatience. Impatience is one of the most destructive forces in human psychology. It makes you take action from desperation rather than strategy. It makes you settle for less than you deserve. It makes you abandon plans right before they would have worked. And the Stoics knew this intimately. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling one of history's greatest empires, had to constantly remind himself that everything operates according to timing he cannot control. He wrote, "You have power over your will alone. Everything else unfolds according to nature's timeline, not your timeline. The seed doesn't become a tree in a day. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly on demand. The relationship doesn't deepen in a week. The career doesn't skyrocket in a month." Think about an entrepreneur who starts a business. In month 1, they're energized and excited. In month 3, when results aren't visible, they're frustrated. In month 6, when progress is slow, they consider quitting. Meanwhile, someone else starts the same type of business and understands that meaningful success takes years, not months. They're patient. They're consistent. They're trusting the process. By year 2, the impatient entrepreneur has quit 3 different ventures. The patient one is just beginning to see real traction. By year 5, the patient entrepreneur is thriving while the impatient one is still starting over. This principle applies to relationships too. 2 people meet and instantly feel chemistry. One person is impatient. They want commitment immediately. They want to know this is the one right now. They want guarantees about the future. Their neediness and pressure actually repels the other person. The second person enjoys the journey. They're present in each moment. They trust that if this is meant to be, it will unfold naturally. Their calm confidence is attractive. Their patience allows a relationship to deepen organically. Seneca taught that impatience is a form of self-torture. You're suffering in the present moment because of what hasn't happened in the future yet. You're destroying your peace today for an outcome that may or may not come tomorrow. Is that logical? Is that wise? Here's your practice for this principle. Identify one area of your life where you're being impatient. Maybe it's your health, your finances, your career, your relationships. Now make a commitment to trust the timing. Understand that meaningful change takes time. The body doesn't transform in 2 weeks. The business doesn't scale in 2 months. The relationship doesn't deepen in 2 months. But if you stay consistent, if you keep showing up, if you trust the process, the transformation becomes inevitable. Say this and feel it deeply. Divine timing is perfect timing. I trust the process. I am patient with myself and life. The fourth principle is act with purpose, not desperation. This is subtle but absolutely critical. Many people think taking action and taking desperate action are the same thing. They're not. When you act from desperation, you're operating from fear. You're moving frantically. You're making poor decisions. You're burning yourself out. When you act from purpose, you're operating from clarity. You're moving strategically. You're making wise decisions. You're building sustainable success. Imagine two job seekers. The first has been unemployed for 6 months and is panicking. They're sending out 50 resumes a day without tailoring them. They're accepting interviews for positions they don't actually want. They're willing to take any job at any salary because they're desperate. They're acting from fear. The second person has been unemployed for 6 months but maintains perspective. They're sending 5 carefully targeted resumes a day to companies they genuinely want to work for. They're preparing thoroughly for each interview. They're willing to wait for the right opportunity. They're acting from purpose. Who do you think lands a better job? Every single time, it's the person acting from purpose. Why? Because desperation repels opportunity. Purpose attracts it. When you're desperate, people sense it. When you're purposeful, people trust you. Epictetus would say that this comes back to what's in your control. Your purpose is in your control. Your effort is in your control. Your energy is in your control. The desperation is what happens when you're trying to control outcomes that aren't in your control. So the antidote to desperation is simple. Refocus on what you can control. Do what's in your power with full presence and commitment. Release what isn't. Here's the practice. Before you take any major action, pause and ask yourself, am I doing this from purpose or desperation? If it's desperation, pause. Breathe. Reconnect with your deeper why. What's the purpose behind this action? What's the long-term vision? When you answer that, your energy shifts. Your desperation transforms into determination. Your panic transforms into purposeful action. Write this in the comments and feel the shift. I act from purpose. I am calm. I am clear. I am confident in my direction. The fifth principle is let go of control and accept what you cannot change. This is perhaps the most liberating principle, and it's the foundation of all Stoic philosophy. The dichotomy of control, as it's called, separates everything in life into 2 categories: what's within your control and what's not. Within your control, your thoughts, your intentions, your effort, your attitude, your choices, how you treat people, what you study, how you prepare, whether you show up, your integrity. Outside your control, other people's opinions, whether others like you, whether you get the job, whether the relationship works out, the weather, the economy, whether someone betrays you, whether you get sick, whether someone dies. Most people spend 90% of their mental energy trying to control the second list. They obsess over whether people like them. They try to force others to behave a certain way. They worry about things that haven't happened yet. They try to prevent rejection, failure, loss. This is exhausting. This is futile. This is the source of virtually all human suffering. The Stoics simply chose differently. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself daily, I don't control what happens to me, only how I respond. The moment you truly accept this, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on things outside your control. You stop suffering over what might happen. You start focusing entirely on the one thing that actually matters: your response, your effort, your integrity. Think about a musician who pours their heart into their art. They can't control whether their music becomes popular. They can't control whether record labels sign them. They can't control whether the world appreciates their work. What can they control? The quality of their craft, the authenticity of their expression, the consistency of their effort, whether they show up and create regardless of whether anyone's watching. When you accept this principle deeply, anxiety drops dramatically. You're no longer trying to control the uncontrollable. You're no longer fighting against reality. You're no longer suffering because life isn't going according to your predetermined plan. Here's your practice. Make a list of everything causing you stress right now. Then divide it into 2 columns. What's in my control and what's not. For everything in the second column, consciously release it. Say out loud, I release my grip on this. I accept that this is outside my control. I choose to focus on what I can actually influence. Then focus entirely on the first column. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I release what I cannot control. I master what I can. I accept reality and work with it, not against it. The 6th principle is embody abundance and shift from scarcity to gratitude. Your mindset about resources, opportunities, and self-worth directly determines what manifests in your life. When you operate from scarcity consciousness, you radiate lack. You're afraid to spend money because you believe it won't come back. You're afraid to give because you believe there isn't enough. You're afraid to pursue opportunities because you believe you don't deserve them. This fear-based energy repels abundance. When you operate from abundance consciousness, everything shifts. You're grateful for what you have. You're generous with what you have. You believe in infinite possibility. You trust that the universe is abundant. This gratitude-based energy attracts abundance. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, had a radical practice. He would regularly live as if he had nothing. He would eat simple food, wear simple clothes, sleep on a hard bed. Why? He said it was to practice poverty, so he would never be enslaved by wealth. But there's a deeper wisdom here. By regularly experiencing scarcity, he never took abundance for granted. When he returned to his wealth, he felt genuinely grateful. His abundance consciousness came from understanding that everything could be lost, and yet he would still be okay. This is the key to shifting from scarcity to abundance. It's not about toxic positivity or pretending problems don't exist. It's about genuine gratitude for what you have while simultaneously trusting that you can create more. It's about understanding that your worth isn't determined by your bank account, your job title, or your relationship status. Your worth is inherent. It cannot be taken away. Consider 2 people earning the same salary. One person feels poor. They focus on what they don't have. They compare themselves to people who earn more. They feel resentful, angry, afraid. Their scarcity mindset actually prevents them from taking the risks necessary to earn more. The second person feels abundant. They're grateful for their salary. They save and invest strategically. They look for opportunities to increase their income. They feel confident about their ability to create wealth. Their abundance mindset attracts more opportunities, more income, more growth. Here's the practice. Start a daily gratitude practice, but do it consciously. Don't just list things you're grateful for. Feel the gratitude in your body. Close your eyes and genuinely feel appreciation for your home, your health, the people in your life, the opportunities available to you. When you feel genuine gratitude, your vibration shifts. Your energy changes. You literally become more attractive to opportunity. Then, commit to one act of generosity daily. Give money, give time, give attention, give compliments. When you give from abundance consciousness, you reinforce to yourself that abundance exists. You break the scarcity loop. Type this affirmation in the comments and mean it. I am abundant. I am grateful. I attract prosperity through my gratitude and generosity. Now we arrive at the 7th and final principle. Take aligned action and release attachment to results. This principle ties everything together. It's not enough to think positive thoughts. It's not enough to meditate and visualize. It's not enough to release control and trust the universe. You must also take action. But here's the critical distinction. The action must be aligned with your values and your vision, and then you must release attachment to the specific outcome. This is where most people fail. They either do nothing and wait for the universe to deliver, or they take frantic, desperate action and then obsess over results. The Stoic path is different. It's the middle way. It's aligned action plus non-attachment. Think about a job seeker again. Aligned action means you identify the companies you genuinely want to work for. You carefully craft your resume to highlight your best qualities. You prepare thoroughly for interviews. You practice your answers. You present yourself authentically. This is all in your control. This is all excellent aligned action. Then you submit your application, and you release it. You don't obsess over whether they'll call. You don't check your email compulsively. You don't convince yourself you won't get the job. You've done your part. Now you trust the process. Or consider someone pursuing a creative dream. Aligned action means you develop your craft consistently. You create work you're proud of. You share your work with the world. You study your craft. You improve daily. These actions are aligned with your vision of being a successful creative. Then you release attachment to becoming famous, becoming rich, becoming recognized. You do the work for the work itself. You create because creation is aligned with who you are. Marcus Aurelius wrote something powerful. Make the best effort you can with the resources you have right now in this moment. That's all you can ever do. That's all you should ever expect of yourself. You can't control the outcome. You can control whether you gave your best effort. This principle also teaches us about divine timing combined with action. You can't sit on your couch and expect the universe to deliver your dreams. You also can't work yourself to exhaustion trying to force results. The answer is strategic, consistent, aligned action while maintaining emotional detachment from outcomes. You show up. You do the work. You trust the process. You remain open however the universe wants to deliver your desires, which might look different than you imagined. Epictetus taught that some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. What's up to you is a commitment to excellence. What's not up to you is recognition. What's up to you is integrity in your relationships. What's not up to you is whether others reciprocate. What's up to you is showing up and doing the work. What's not up to you is how quickly results appear. Here's your final practice. Identify one major goal you're working toward. Write down all the aligned actions you need to take. These should feel authentic and purposeful, not desperate and frantic. Then commit to those actions for a specific time frame, maybe 90 days. During this time, you track your consistency, not your results. You measure whether you showed up, whether you did the work, whether you took aligned action. You release the outcome completely. You trust the process. At the end of the period, you evaluate. Did you take aligned action consistently? If yes, you've succeeded regardless of external results. You've succeeded because you've done your part. The universe will handle the rest in its own timing. Write this in the comments as your commitment. I take aligned action. I release attachment to outcomes. I trust the process. I am at peace. As we bring this together, understand what the Stoics knew all along. The secret to manifesting everything you want isn't in controlling external circumstances. It's in mastering your internal world. It's in releasing desperate attachment and replacing it with purposeful trust. It's an understanding that your power lies not in forcing outcomes, but in choosing your effort, your attitude, your integrity, and your response. When you detach from outcomes, you remove the desperation that repels opportunity. When you master your mindset, you interpret every experience as fuel for growth. When you trust divine timing, you stop fighting against natural rhythms. When you act with purpose, you move from fear to clarity. When you accept what you cannot control, you stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable. When you embody abundance, you attract more abundance. When you take aligned action without attachment, you become unstoppable. This is a Stoic path to manifesting everything you want. This is how you relax into life instead of fighting against it. This is how you achieve success without burning out. This is how you find peace while still pursuing purpose. Subscribe to this channel for more ancient wisdom applied to modern life. Click on the video on screen right now to watch the next video that will deepen your practice. And remember, you already have everything you need to succeed. You already possess the power to create the life you want. You just needed permission to relax, trust, and let it unfold. Stay stoic, stay strong, stay open to miracles.